It started with risotto. Not just any risotto, mind you, but the kind that takes patience, 45 minutes of stirring and soft cursing, because arborio rice doesn't rush for anyone. I had plated it carefully, lit 2 candles, and even opened that overpriced bottle of Merlot she bought on a whim and never let us drink because it was for a special occasion. Apparently, our 10th wedding anniversary wasn't special enough. She walked in an hour late wearing a dress I hadn't seen before, with makeup she hadn't worn in years and a scent I didn't recognize. Her heels clicked against the tile like punctuation marks. Tap, 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 and she smiled like nothing was off. "Oh," she said, glancing at the table like it was an inconvenience. "I didn't know we were doing this." I smiled. Tight, polite, the kind you wear when you're trying not to say something you'll regret. "It's our anniversary, Meg." She blinked, just once slow. "Right. Of course. Work ran late." I nodded, though I knew she hadn't been at work. I'd called. Twice. Straight to voicemail. We ate mostly in silence. She pushed her food around like it owed her money. I asked how things were going at the office. She said, "Fine." I asked if she was still planning that trip to Denver with her team. She said, "We'll see." Then she excused herself mid-dessert. Left her wine untouched, her phone in hand. I stood at the sink washing dishes I didn't feel like washing, and that's when I heard it. Her laugh from the hallway. Not the kind she gave me these days. This one was light, effortless, real. I walked out slowly. She was on the phone, turned half away from me. And then he made risotto. Like, full romantic dinner. Candles and everything. Pause. More laughter. No, I didn't eat it. I had real food before I came home. She turned just as I stepped into view. Her smile cracked and vanished like a dropped mirror. "Gotta go," she mumbled. The call ended. She didn't even bother pretending she was on with a client. We both knew better. I leaned against the wall. Didn't know risotto was such a punchline. She didn't apologize. Didn't explain. She just said, "You're being dramatic." I nodded. "Sure. That's me. Mr. Drama." And that's when the waiter entered the scene. Not literally, but in name. Meg folded her arms and said, "You always make things heavier than they are. You don't know how to just enjoy things. You don't laugh. You don't let go. You don't fold napkins just right. Wipe counters in slow circles. Kiss you like the guy from your work trip does." Her silence told me I'd guessed correctly. Or maybe just close enough. I saw the texts, Meg. Still silence. She didn't deny it. Just turned and walked away. Upstairs. Like we were in the middle of a sitcom scene change. I didn't follow. I just went back to the table, poured myself her untouched wine, and sipped it slowly, like it was part of a final toast. To what? I wasn't sure. Maybe to the man I used to be. The one who still believed anniversaries meant something. But that man, he'd just finished his last risotto. The morning after the risotto debacle was all toothpaste and tension. She came downstairs like it was a regular Tuesday. Hair still damp from a shower I wasn't invited to, travel mug in hand. And that "don't start" look already plastered on her face like concealer for guilt. "Morning," she said, voice clipped. "Is it?" I replied, flipping the paper even though I wasn't reading a word of it. She opened the fridge, rummaged for almond milk like it might save her from the moment. "I've got a meeting at 9. Can we not do this?" This being a conversation? Or accountability? Her jaw twitched. Not enough for the average person to catch, but I'd been studying that face for a decade. I knew her tells better than she did. She closed the fridge slowly, eyes meeting mine. "What do you want me to say?" "I don't want anything," I said, sipping coffee that suddenly tasted bitter. "You already gave what I wanted to someone else." That landed. Not deeply, but enough to crack the armor. She set her mug down. "It wasn't planned." "Oh, good," I said, letting the sarcasm coast gently. "Because if you had color-coded your betrayal on a spreadsheet, I might have taken it personally." She rubbed her forehead like she was the one with a headache. "I didn't sleep with him." I nodded. "Yet." That got a pause. Was it going there? Another pause. I leaned back in the chair. "You know, Meg, for someone who says I'm too quiet and too serious, you sure seem to miss the parts where I noticed everything. I know how long you spent texting him. I know the perfume you wore to Denver isn't the one you wear around me. I know you turned your phone upside down during dinner. I know you smiled more in 1 week at that conference than you have in 6 months sitting next to me on the couch." "You're twisting things," she said. "No, I'm just untangling the knots you tied." She looked tired then. Not guilty. Not even defensive. just worn down from the weight of finally being seen. "Can we take a break?" she asked. I set my cup down, hard enough to make her flinch. "We're not in high school, Meg. This isn't a break. This is a fault line. I just need space." "You already took it." She stood quietly, then picked up her bag. "I'm staying at my sister's for a few days." That was a lie. Her sister lived in another state. But I let it slide because the part of me that used to fight for this marriage had already clocked out. "Pack light," I said. "It's not a round trip." She hesitated. Just a second. Then turned and walked out. The door closed. I stared at her half-full mug on the counter, lipstick print on the rim, same as always. Except this time, I poured it down the drain. Because love doesn't leave you on read. The first 24 hours without her were quiet. Not peaceful. Not tragic. Just quiet, like the kind of silence you only notice when a fridge stops humming. At first, I kept turning toward the sound of keys that weren't jingling, footsteps that weren't coming, a voice that wasn't about to ask where the charger went. She didn't call, didn't text, didn't even leave a note, which, in hindsight, might have been the most honest thing she ever did. I spent that first night reorganizing the silverware drawer. It wasn't about the forks. It was about control. When the rest of your life's leaking through the drywall, you find weird comfort in knowing where the teaspoons go. Around midnight, I stood in front of her closet, still half full. Her favorite beige trench coat, the red heels she only wore to weddings, a denim jacket with a tear in the cuff I'd offered to fix a dozen times. I didn't touch anything, just stared at her stuff like a detective at a crime scene, trying to figure out where it all went wrong. Only in this case, the body wasn't missing, it had walked out voluntarily. That night, I slept on my side of the bed like muscle memory. Her pillows still smelled like expensive conditioner and poor decisions. I didn't cry. Still haven't. But my brain played highlight reels like a cruel little sports network. The early years, how she used to tuck her feet under me on the couch. How we danced in the kitchen to bad 80s ballads. How she once burned an entire tray of muffins and blamed the oven's attitude. That version of her could have made me forget every wrong in the world. But that version of her had left the building long before her suitcase did. The next morning, my phone buzzed. One text. Unsaved number. "You don't deserve how she treats you." No signature. Just that. Now, I'm not a romantic, but I'm also not a complete idiot. That kind of message doesn't come out of the void. It comes from someone who knows the shape of your storm. I stared at it for a full minute before I replied. "Who is this?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then came back. Let's just say, "I've seen more than you think." And that's when I knew the truth was leaking. Somewhere, someone knew something, and for the first time in weeks, I wasn't the one being kept in the dark. I didn't push. I didn't text back. Because when a lie starts to unravel, you don't pull too hard. You just wait for the weight of the truth to finish the job. And me? I had a house to unhaunt. The mystery number texted again at 6:47 a.m. Sharp, as if they knew I'd already be awake, because I was. You don't sleep soundly when your marriage is unraveling and your brain won't shut up long enough to dream. You ready to see it? No greeting. No preamble. Just those 6 words, ominous as a riddle left on a crime scene. I stared at the message. A week ago, I might have ignored it. A week ago, I still believed in the benefit of the doubt. But now? Now I was done guessing. "Show me." 10 seconds later, a video landed in my inbox. No explanation. No title. Just a thumbnail of what looked like a restaurant booth and a familiar silhouette. I tapped play. Meg. Hair up. Wine glass in hand. Laughing the way people only laugh when they think no one's watching. Across from her sat a man with a beard I recognized from our holiday party last year, the catering manager. I remember because she made fun of his name afterward. "Who calls their kid Asher?" she'd said. "Sounds like a background character in a Netflix drama." Guess that background character got promoted. They weren't doing anything overt. Just talking, leaning close, smiling too long. But it wasn't the gestures that gave it away. It was the eyes. Eyes only behave like that when you've already crossed the line or planned before dessert. The video cut off after 47 seconds. Long enough to gut me, short enough to leave questions. And beneath it, a message. Thursday, 8:15 p.m. Marchetti's. They didn't see me. Marchetti's was across town. White tablecloths, candlelight, valet parking. The kind of place where the bill comes in a leather envelope and the waiter calls you sir even when you're wearing sneakers. It was the place Meg said was too stuffy for our anniversary last year. Apparently, it wasn't too stuffy for Asher. At first, I wanted to confront her. march straight into wherever she was staying, if she was staying there, and ask if she wanted me to starch her boyfriend's collar while she was at it. But something held me back. Not weakness. Strategy. See, there's a unique power in silence. When someone expects you to explode, and you don't, that's when they get nervous. That's when they start over-explaining. That's when guilt forgets to hide its tracks. So instead of texting Meg, I responded to the stranger. Who are you? This time, no dots. Just a reply. Let's meet. Coffee. Public place. No drama. They sent a location, beans and brioche, a bakery near downtown that Meg and I used to visit back when she liked warm things. I threw on a hoodie, grabbed my keys, and drove across town with the kind of calm that felt almost suspicious, like my body hadn't caught up to what my life had become. The cafe was nearly empty. Quiet music, half-lit sconces, the smell of burnt espresso and vanilla. I ordered a black coffee and waited in a booth near the window. 10 minutes passed. Then she walked in. Aubrey. Meg's friend. Not a close one, but familiar enough. She was at our engagement party, sat near the back at our wedding, and once split a lift home with us after a holiday dinner. Always polite. Always observant. She slid into the booth without speaking. I raised an eyebrow. You. She nodded. Don't look so shocked. I'm more confused than shocked. Why tell me? She sighed. Because I thought she'd snap out of it. I thought it was a fling. But she's rewriting you. Rewriting me? Aubrey stirred her coffee, even though she hadn't added anything to it. She talks about you like you're some cardboard cutout husband. Dull, humorless. Like she's tolerated you. But I've seen you two together. I know she used to look at you like you hung the moon. She got tired of the moon, I guess. Aubrey leaned in. She's not just seeing Asher. She's been shopping for a new life, like this one was last season's wardrobe. And if you don't get ahead of her narrative, she's going to leave you holding the blame. I stared at her, the weight of that sentence sinking in like cold water. What are you saying? She's telling people you're unstable. That you check out. That you isolate. She's pre-planting an excuse to walk and look like the victim. For a moment, I forgot how to blink. It wasn't enough that she had someone else. She needed a story to make it okay. Why are you really telling me this? I asked. She hesitated. Because once, she said, voice softer now, someone did this to me. And no one warned me. I lost everything before I knew what was even happening. The cafe stayed quiet, the kind of quiet that stretches. I nodded once. That was enough. I didn't need more. That night, I lay in bed thinking about stories. The ones we tell ourselves. The ones we tell others. And the one Meg was already writing in rooms I wasn't allowed into. I didn't rage. I didn't scheme. Not yet. I just opened my laptop and started writing something else entirely, a digital paper trail. Dates. Details. Screenshots of texts. Notes from conversations. Voice memos I'd recorded without meaning to, just from phone calls on Bluetooth that autosaved to the cloud. I wasn't spiraling. I was archiving. Because if Meg wanted to make me the villain, she'd better hope her version of events could survive cross-examination. And me? I was done being the loyal, quiet character in her story. I was about to become the author. You know how some people plan revenge like a movie montage? Red string on corkboards, burner phones, cackling over their keyboards? That's not me. Mine started with a spreadsheet. 3 tabs. Tab 1. Evidence, timestamps, texts, screenshots, a polite little library of every breadcrumb Meg left behind. Tab 2. Financials, joint accounts, her personal spending, large withdrawals marked miscellaneous, and that spa weekend that apparently cost more than our honeymoon suite. Tab 3. The exit plan, because leaving is easy. But leaving right? That's an art form. I wasn't going to torch the house. I was going to rearrange the furniture while she was still sitting in it. And if that sounds cruel, well, sometimes fairness looks like cruelty to people used to getting away with things. The next Saturday, Meg came home. No warning, no text, just the jingle of keys in the lock and the door swinging open like she never left. She walked in wearing sunglasses indoors, red flag, carrying a yoga mat, another red flag, and humming like someone who hadn't made my anniversary dinner sound like the setup to a bad sitcom. Oh, she said, spotting me in the living room. Didn't think you'd be here. Didn't think you still had a key, I replied, not looking up from my laptop. She set her bag down slowly. I needed a few things. Shouldn't take long. Take your time, I said. It's the last time you'll be doing it. She froze. Excuse me. I clicked one last cell in the spreadsheet and finally looked up. Calm, like I was discussing the weather. I changed the locks. They go into effect tonight. If there's anything sentimental, grab it now. You're kicking me out? No. I'm reclaiming the house I paid for while you were busy conducting research at upscale restaurants with Asher. Her face didn't even flinch. That told me everything. This wasn't a surprise. Just an inconvenience. I don't know what you think you know, she began. Stop, I said, raising a hand. Don't insult both of us. She shifted weight to her other hip. This isn't like you. You don't get dramatic. This isn't drama, I said. This is documentation, which, coincidentally, I've already started sharing. She stiffened. That word always made her nervous. Sharing. With who? My attorney. My brother. Your friend Aubrey, if we're being thorough. Her jaw twitched. She told you, she asked, voice low. No, she showed me. There's a difference. Meg crossed the room, arms folded tight. So what? You're just done. Actually, I said, standing up, I'm just getting started. I reached into the drawer of the console table, same drawer where we used to keep birthday cards and takeout menus, and pulled out a neatly labeled manila envelope. Inside, the list of items she bought on our shared credit card that I already disputed. The emails forwarded from her personal account to mine via Cloud Sync. The small, quiet receipts that didn't scream, but whispered betrayal. This is yours, I said, holding it out. She didn't take it. What is it? An inventory, I replied, of everything you left behind. Physically, emotionally, logistically. I figured if you were going to walk out like a ghost, I should at least be the one who haunts you with a sense of order. You're being vindictive. No, I said, calmly. I'm being meticulous. There's a difference. She glanced at the envelope, then at me. You know you're not blameless, she said, trying for that wounded tone she used when she wanted the upper hand without earning it. You were distant. You were cold. And you were dishonest. So here we are. She finally took the envelope. Didn't open it. Just held it like it might explode. So what happens now? Now. I shrugged. You pack. You leave. And I stopped pretending the marriage ended this week instead of last year. And you think that makes you the better person? She asked. No, I said, grabbing my coffee from the side table. But it makes me the person who didn't lie about dinner plans while shopping for a backup life. She didn't reply. Didn't yell. Didn't cry. Just stood there, processing the fact that I had finally stepped off the pedestal she thought I'd never leave. 3 hours later, she was gone. Left with 2 suitcases, 1 gym bag, and a very quiet Uber driver who didn't ask questions. I watched from the living room window, not because I missed her, but because I wanted to see the exact moment she realized I didn't run after her. I never planned to. I was done being the loyal wallpaper in her highlight reel. And here's the part that might surprise you. After the car disappeared down the street, I didn't feel empty. I felt prepared. That night, I reopened my spreadsheet and renamed the 3rd tab. Tab 3, the blueprint. Because revenge isn't loud. It doesn't need to be public. And it sure doesn't need to be cruel. Revenge is showing up to the same places 6 months later, cleaner, sharper, with more peace in your silence than she ever found in his arms. Revenge is thriving in a life she doesn't recognize, while she scrolls through old pictures wondering how the hell she lost a man who once knew how she liked her eggs and her insecurities. She'll tell herself I was bitter. She'll call it an overreaction. But someday, when the noise dies down and the thrill wears off, she'll wonder if I ever think about her. And the truth? I won't. Because the greatest revenge isn't making someone pay. It's making someone irrelevant. 3 weeks of silence. No calls. No texts. No surprise visits from Meg with crocodile tears and monologues about closure. It was almost disappointing. I thought there'd be some kind of second act. Maybe a late-night voicemail, half whine, half regret. But no. She ghosted me like a pro. Which told me 2 things. She really thought she'd landed on her feet with Asher. She underestimated how much time I'd spent sharpening my spine. Then came the dinner invitation. It arrived as an email, hidden between an Amazon receipt and a spammy congratulations. You've won a cruise, from a travel site I'd never used. Subject line, civility and clarity? I clicked. Because of course I did. Hey, I thought maybe we could meet for dinner. Neutral ground. No fighting, just conversation. I'll be at Marlowe's on Thursday at 7 if you're willing. If not, I understand. Meg. Marlowe's. Of all places. That wasn't just neutral ground. That was our place. The first time we ate there, she made fun of how I ordered salmon without asking about the seasoning. She said I was too trusting with my stomach. We laughed for hours over creme brulee and red wine that stained her upper lip. It was a memory I used to replay when things were bad. Now, it felt like a rerun of a show that got canceled halfway through its final season. Still, I went. Not because I wanted to reconcile. Not because I had some fantasy of her begging for forgiveness and me pretending to consider it. No, I went because sometimes the final nail in the coffin needs to be delivered in person. She was already there when I arrived. Same booth. Same menu open in front of her, though I doubt she was reading it. She wore that blue dress she knew I liked, soft fabric, long sleeves, the kind that looked elegant without trying. Her hair was down, and her face looked different. Not sad. Not angry. Just neutral. Like a mask that hadn't decided which emotion to wear yet. I sat down. Didn't smile. She looked up. Hey. Hey. A pause. You look good, she offered, like it was a peace treaty. I do, I replied. No return compliment. Her lips twitched. Okay. So we're doing that. No, I said, calmly. We're doing honesty. Which, let's be fair, is a new look for us. She flinched. A flicker. Then straightened her silverware. I didn't ask you here to fight. Then you should have picked a different restaurant. She ignored that. I've been thinking a lot, and I wanted to say, I'm sorry. I stared at her. Waited. For what? She blinked. For how things ended. That's vague. She sighed. I know I hurt you. No, I said. You replaced me. That's different. Another pause. This one heavier. I didn't mean for it to happen like that. But it did. I was lonely. And I was loyal, I said, my voice flat. That's the whole story. She exhaled through her nose. You think this is black and white. But you stopped seeing me long before I ever looked elsewhere. Wrong, I said, leaning forward. I saw all of you. I saw you pulling away. I saw you staying late. I saw you checking out of our conversations. And instead of calling you out, I made excuses. For you. She looked down at her hands, folded tightly in her lap. I'm not here to rehash everything, she said quietly. I just wanted to be civil. I smiled. Not warmly. Not cruelly. Just enough to say, I see through you. That's not why you're here. She looked up. You're here because you realized he's not what you thought. He's charming in a crowd, sure, but when the crowd thins out, he's empty. He doesn't know that you hate cilantro. He doesn't notice when you're faking a laugh. He doesn't know how you panic in traffic or hum when you're anxious. He doesn't know the names of your childhood pets. He doesn't see you. Not really. Her throat moved like she swallowed something bitter. You're wrong, she said. But her voice cracked. Am I? She didn't answer. Instead, she reached into her bag and pulled out a small envelope. No label. No return address. Just beige, like the kind you get from a boutique or a stationery shop that charges extra for nothing. She slid it across the table. What's this? An invitation. I didn't touch it. To what? The wedding. No, she said, almost whispering. To nothing. Because it's over. I finally picked up the envelope. Opened it. Inside was a note. 2 sentences. Handwritten. I didn't realize I was happy until it was too late. Now I watch the door and hope it's you. No name. No date. Just ink and regret. I folded it. Slid it back into the envelope. Then into my coat pocket. Not because I wanted it, but because I knew she'd be waiting to see if I left it on the table. I'm not angry anymore, I said. She looked up, startled. I'm not bitter. I'm not jealous. I'm just done. And that, more than anything, broke her composure. She nodded slowly. Eyes glassy. Chin tight. I'm glad you came, she said. I almost didn't. I know. The waitress brought the check. Meg reached for it, but I slid it back toward her. This one's yours, I said. It always was. And I walked out into the cold air, without looking back. The stars were out. Clear. Quiet. She'd probably sit there a while, staring at the note I didn't leave, trying to figure out if I ever would have forgiven her. But I didn't need forgiveness. I needed freedom. And I had it now. It's strange how quiet the world becomes when you're no longer waiting for someone to explain why they broke you. After that dinner, I didn't hear from Meg again. No follow-up text. No, just checking in or late-night breadcrumb disguised as regret. And that was fine. It was better, actually. Because closure isn't something they give you. It's what you build yourself, when the dust settles and you realize you're still standing. I started going back to the gym, not because of a breakup cliché, but because I hadn't heard my heartbeat in months. Turns out it's still strong. I repainted the guest room she never decorated. Replaced the bed sheets. Bought plants I assumed I'd kill, and somehow they lived. That felt like a metaphor. People ask how I'm doing. I tell them the truth, lighter. And it's not because I'm happier without her. It's because I'm finally not holding up a two-person performance by myself. One morning, about 2 months later, I got a small padded envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a flash drive and a note. I thought you might want to know the full story. Sorry it took me this long to be brave. Aubrey. I plugged in the flash drive. There were 3 folders. Dinner receipts. Photos. Audio. I didn't open them all at once. I brewed coffee first. Fed the cat. Sat in my chair like a man about to read the last chapter of a book he didn't ask to be part of. The photos were surveillance style, clearly taken from distance. Parking lots. Sidewalks. Her and Asher, mid-laugh, mid-embrace, mid-something. They weren't vulgar. But they were real. Too real. The receipts were from places I'd never been. A beachside inn. A jewelry boutique. 2 different hotels, 3 months apart. Paid in full. Guess those work trips paid off. Then the audio. I clicked one file. It was her voice, Meg's, recorded during what sounded like dinner with friends. She was laughing. He folds his laundry like he's afraid of creases in his soul. Everything's orderly, boring, perfect. Sometimes I feel like I'm married to a spreadsheet. There was laughter. Not mine. Asher just gets me. He doesn't care if the forks don't match. He makes me feel like I'm actually alive. I don't know. Maybe that makes me awful. And someone, I think Aubrey, said quietly. It makes you reckless. I didn't listen to the rest. I didn't need to. I already knew who I was married to. The only thing I hadn't known was how little I mattered once she was done. I copied the files to a backup drive, labeled it, "If she ever lies again." Then I made dinner. Alone. Peacefully. It was time. She thought she walked away clean. She thought I'd fade quietly. But what she didn't know was that I'd been building something since the night I left that restaurant. Not a temper tantrum. A transition. First, I called the lawyer. He was impressed. You documented everything? Every receipt. Every whisper. Then I sent Meg a message. I'd like to finalize the divorce. Clean. No drama. Let's meet. She agreed too quickly. We met in the office of a mediator. She showed up in neutral colors, hair tied back, face soft like she was ready to settle everything with a smile and a mutual lie. Until the documents landed in front of her. Until she saw the clause. Asset relinquishment due to breach of marital fidelity. Evidence attached. Names included. Dated and timestamped. Her eyes scanned the paperwork. Her face went pale. You planned this, she whispered. I leaned back. You bet your borrowed hotel robe I did. She looked at the mediator, then at me. You can't do this. I slid the flash drive across the table. I already did. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just realized she was no longer the one holding the pen in this story. And for the first time, she had no way to rewrite me. I never told anyone about the second package I sent. Not to Meg. Not to Aubrey. Not even to my lawyer. I mailed it a few days after the divorce was finalized. Handwritten. No return address. Sent directly to Asher's workplace. Inside was a copy of the same flash drive with a note. Careful. She said the same things about me once. That's all. No threats. No drama. Just context. See, revenge isn't about rage. It's about precision. It's not the blow that ruins them. It's the moment they realize they're holding something broken and can't even remember when the cracks began. I don't know if Asher watched the footage. I don't know if he confronted her. I don't care. All I know is this. 3 weeks later, her social media went dark. Her email signature changed back to her maiden name. And a mutual friend told me she moved into a 1-bedroom rental across town. Alone. As for me, I sleep with the windows open now. I listen to jazz on Tuesday nights. I still fold my laundry like I respect it. And every so often, I smile to myself, not because I ruined her, but because I walked away whole. Because when someone makes you feel invisible, the worst thing you can do to them is let them watch you shine.